Oh, there we go. Well, hello. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. I'm so excited. Welcome to the Tit for Tat podcast. As you guys can see, we're missing Jay. Unfortunately, he can't be here tonight, but we are going to keep it moving. We have some special guests joining us tonight. As you know, I'm Carolyn. I am one half of the Tit for Tat podcast. You know, Jay does that little fancy intro at the beginning that I'm definitely not going to attempt, but we're happy to have you. I know it's like, yeah, I was thinking about practicing that, but then I was like, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. But we are happy to have you tonight, TTN. I'm trying to think if we have any announcements. Oh yeah, so tonight is our 50th episode, so we're definitely going to be celebrating that. And I am super excited for tonight's topic, which is what makes a man a man. And that is a very loaded question, and we're going to get into it. But first, I want to definitely give our guests an opportunity. Like I said, I'm Carolyn. I am one of your hosts, and we got special guest Jay Mitch here joining us tonight again, which we're so excited for. And then we have the lovely Miss Carlise, first-time guest. So I'm going to give her the floor and let her introduce herself, and then our other guests, and then we'll get started.
All right. My name's Carlise. I'm 29 years old. I live in Manassas, Virginia, and I would say I'm in a situationship.
Situationship. That sounds spicy. I love it. We're gonna get back into that a little bit later, possibly, if we can tie it into what makes a man a man. Coach Wise.
All right, my name is Jamal, Coach Wise. Coach because I'm the head coach at Montgomery College, but I'm Carolyn's co-worker. We've known each other for about 3 years now. Love her to death. She's awesome. I'm from Silver Spring, Maryland. I was born in DC, grew up in Silver Spring. Just play ball, know a lot of people in the area, and currently been married for 7 years, cohabitating for 10, 41 years old. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. And without further ado, let's get into this topic tonight. What makes a man a man? I'm definitely going to let the men start out and lead with this. And I have like a ton of questions, and we'll just go from there. So, Wise, as our guest, I want to let you take the floor first. What makes a man, in your opinion?
I always, having a father and older brother, they always taught me, your word is your bond. You try to stick to what you say you're going to do, and you follow through on it. Handling your responsibilities. I've had some situations in my life where I've had to, take care of responsibilities, whether it was having, a kid outside of wedlock, and my kid's not living in the same state as me, but taking care of that responsibility, whether it's financially, making sure I see them, flying up to see them up in New England, just always handling your whatever you got going on, taking care of those issues or responsibilities, and doing it in a way that is comfortable for everybody. Because as men, we set the tone of anything. Like if you come into a house and your partner doesn't know what type of person you are that day, you throw the tone of your household off. Like you gotta try to be stable with your emotions. You gotta really handle yourself in a way to where people are comfortable, whether it's your partners, your acquaintances, your kids, whoever. And part of being a man is knowing how to handle yourself, control yourself, and also take care of your overlying responsibilities that you have in life, and do it in a way to where, it's not a lot of drama. So for me, that's always a big thing in terms of, making sure if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. If I, and not play games, and really be a responsible human, and, be the tone setter of your family or your situation, whatever you got going on.
I love that. Jay Mitch, what you got?
I feel like just on the definition of that, I believe the definition really comes from people's thoughts on the attributes, the actions, and the qualities of a man when they ask, what makes a man a man. So to that, I just simply say that a man is somebody that shows up in a situation or shows up in life and just has a positive impact on whatever there is that they're engaged in and operating in. I just feel like a man is just somebody that will leave something better than, how they found it. It's just, a man is just, in my mind, just something positive. Just the male gender acting, thinking, moving in a way that's positive for themselves and for everybody else that they
Whoa.
have been involved with. Lee.
Sorry for that feedback. Keep going. Are you
No, that was it.
Oh, okay. Carlise, what you got from a woman's perspective?
Also, it's Men's Awareness Month, so shout out to y'all.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Happy Men's Awareness
Month. It's Men's
Month.
Mental Awareness Month, but at the end of the day, like, men matter. So shout out to y'all. My intake on a man being a man is protecting and providing. I wouldn't say like materialistic like things. It's just in regards to like making a woman feel safe, or if something goes wrong, like you guys are there to help out. Feel like you have to be confident and respectable in a room. So like I'm always gonna want to have someone beside me who's like the most respectable in the room and can handle any situation. So
I like that.
if I call, you answer, and all is good.
True. I love all of those, and I think what makes a man is everything that everyone said. I'm with Carly's. I'm more focused on the protect and provide, and I think when I think about that, I think sometimes when we hear protect and provide, we automatically go to physical protection and financially providing. And those things are important, I think, but I also think that what we don't focus on in terms of protecting and providing is a safe space for women.
A safe space.
Absolutely. Yeah, like a safe space emotionally. Like as a man, if I'm dating you, we're together, then you should be protecting me emotionally. And I think that's where a lot of men fall short. And I think it's because, as Jamal said, a man should be thinking about the good of everyone. But I think a lot of times men can be focused on themselves. And when you're doing that, you don't necessarily make the best decisions in terms of protecting a woman that you're in a relationship with, or that you're dating, because you're looking at it from a selfish lens. Like I posted a video that said, how to tell the difference between a toxic man and a healthy man is a healthy man comes and is trying to be of service. And when I think about the real men that I know, or the real men that I've dated, they are always handling and taking care of things. They are always seeing how they can help elevate or support in some way, as opposed to the toxic men that I've dated, and I've dated a lot of them. That is more the mindset of, well, what can you do for me? What do you bring to the table? That sort of thing. So in my opinion, I think there has to be more energy put towards providing and protecting, in the sense of being disciplined enough to make good decisions, or restrain from things maybe that are not good for everyone in those situations. What personal values, let's get a little bit more specific in terms of personal values that we associate with being a man.
I mean, I'll start off. Personal values. Really, first thing is being confident. You gotta, as a guy, you gotta own your position as who you are. As you gotta look yourself in the mirror. You gotta love who you see in the mirror. That's the first thing, because if you don't love yourself, you're not gonna love the woman the way you're supposed to. It is really difficult for you to grapple with yourself about things and not be fully on board with who you are, and then try to, you know, put forth the effort to serve another person, you know. And for me, I always had a great self-care, self-love for myself. Always walked around with positive attitude, had a confidence about me, whether it came from me being, you know, all-American in basketball in high school, getting stardom early, you know, or, you know, being 6'6", 240, 250, and having a stature that's, you know, that gets noticed. But at the end of the day, I carry myself in a way where I'm not an asshole. I carry myself in a way where people around me feel love and respected, and don't feel like I'm walking around like I'm better than them. Again, tone setting, setting the tone of the environment you in, whether it's your own household or your workplace or wherever. And I'm always someone who uh, I spread love, man. God is love, and I'm a God fearing man, and it ain't nothing better than for people to be comfortable around a big black mofo like me, who's 6'6", 250, and people are like comfortable to come up to me and speak and say hello. And you see how the kids all of me in the high school, they all
Oh,
over.
they're all obsessed with him.
Them kids love me, man. And but even just how I speak, even if I don't know you like that, I'll say, "Hey, how you doing? Good morning." I'm not full of myself. You gotta have a way of walking around and not only, you know, showing respect for yourself, but showing respect for everyone else around you. Because a lot of times, man, you know, dudes be full of themselves, man, and it ain't even, it's bigger than you. Like you gotta understand that you can really make someone day if you are a man that shows love, spread love, and obviously you don't let no one take advantage of you. But it's also a way of people understanding, like, okay, he's a man who's real confident. You know, he's comfortable in his skin, and he's also a great person. Like, you know, I don't want no one calling me or calling me an asshole. And if you do, that's cool. But at the end of the day, that's your own. If you do, I feel like that's your own personal decision, opinion of me, because I don't show that. Like, I like to make sure that people feel some type of respect and love and care when they're around me, and that's a big value, man. I think that doesn't get talked about enough, about how you move. Because again, man, you men can be the protectors, or we can be the people that's intimidating. And you got to show which one are you going to be. Someone who, you know, people feel comfortable around us, or uncomfortable. So that's kind of where I'm at with. That's one of the main values for me, is how you carry yourself, how you move with confidence, and spread love and respect to other people. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Mitch, what personal values do you associate with being a man?
I would say integrity, in the sense of being the type of man that says what he means and means what he says, but also stands on what he says, moves on what he says, and gives the impression that he truly believes on what he's saying, and what his beliefs are. I also think communication is important, where a man is the type to be able to use his words to lead people, to make people believe in him. People have trust in him, have faith in him, and to just do the things that he needs them to do, and in a way to where they'll even believe that what he's saying is best for me. So I believe just the combination of integrity and communication both.
What about if you feel like, as a man, are you open to maybe what you feel is best is not always what is best? Like, you're married. So are there times, or have there been times or instances where you felt like, okay, this is how we should move as a family, and your wife was maybe opposed to that, and you know, after listening to her explain, you know, her thought process, you were able to kind of like understand and go with that instead of what you had originally thought, or no?
Now I get what you're saying. I would say that you can't be, as a man, you're held to standards of, I'm not going to say perfection, but you're held to a certain standard that once you start putting things into action, the likelihood is supposed to be success. The definition of a man, there's a certain level of success equated with that definition. Most people don't equate the definition of man with failure. They equate them with being able to complete tasks. They equate the definition with being able to get things done. They equate it with, high expectations. So as a man, you just can't take that for granted. When you say something, when you think something, when you believe something, you gotta do the science beforehand. You gotta be in the background, in the shadows, working it out before you even step forward and say, this is how I feel. This is what I believe in. This is what I need from you. This is what we should do. You just can't be reckless with your thoughts and how you present yourself to the world as a man. You got to be calculated, and this is, throughout the whole day. I mean, it's subliminal, but at the end of the day, you have to be cognizant of what you try to put out there, because if you're wrong, it doesn't just affect you, it affects the people that you're responsible for. And as a man, your goal in life is to be responsible for somebody else, whether it be a spouse, whether it be kids, whether it be
The
co-workers on
community.
the team, you know what I'm saying? Whether it be people underneath you at a job or in a business, it comes, that all comes with leadership. And with leadership, you just can't be reckless with it.
All right. Carlise, what about you? Personal values that you associate with being a man.
Just they have to be respectful. Leadership, it plays like a big role because I'm such an open-minded person, especially, I wouldn't say I'm like the youngest, but I also do, love a man who can lead, but also just being someone of their word, it just takes respectfully, y'all really have it. What is the word I'm looking for? Respectfully, y'all got a lot to do. Like, y'all got a lot on y'all's plate just to like be a man. So like, it's always appreciated, and I swear, like, once you put a woman in, you got to do what you got to do as a man. But like, if you can put a woman in her soft place and keep her there forever, and I'm not saying like she should just sit down and just not do anything with her life. Like, I work, I get my own money, but if you can just, put a woman in her soft place and just feel like it's okay to be a woman and just sit back and, take that leadership role, like, I'm so here for it. So I just love a man who can lead, respectful, honest, caring, all the above. But y'all got a lot on y'all's plate too. I mean, especially like businessmen, or if you're an entrepreneur, whatever you do, you have a lot on your plate. So it's always appreciated. But I think like a lot of women out here are shiesty. So it takes apart from like the good ones who are out here and appreciate that and can just be themselves, and then you have, if you meet a good guy, all the above.
I agree with that. I think one of the words that come to mind for me, and I agree with everything everyone said, but I think a word that sticks out when I think about what makes a man is discipline. I think it's very difficult for people to be disciplined in life in general, with everything.
Absolutely.
And I think that when a man can be disciplined in, and Jamal and I were talking this one day at work, just disciplined with his, sexual desires, disciplined in his finances, disciplined in, business or whatever he has going on. Those things are important, because if you're not disciplined in those things, you're going to make mistakes. It's going to hinder your progress. And if you have a family or you're dating someone, then that kind of hurts their confidence in you to lead, because you're making decisions that are not moving everyone forward because of your lack of discipline. And I'll give a personal example. So I was dating this guy years ago, and he was a godly man, and I love that, because we used to talk about like God, and he used to go to church, and that was the first time that I had really dated a guy outside of my first boyfriend that was very much, a Christian man and trying to live by the Christian principles. And I remember we were dating, and then like I got to the point where like I was really in my feelings, and I was ready to like take things to the next level and be intimate with him. But it's just so crazy, because he was like, "No, you're not ready." And I was like, "What do you mean I'm not ready?" "No, I'm definitely ready. Come on, I'm ready." And I, I felt like I was ready, but he knew, like he had the discernment and the discipline to restrain from that, even though, I try to tempt them, because, the Leo in me is like, I'm going to get what I want. Like, you're not. And then it was a little bit of an ego thing too, because I'm like, what do you mean? You're turning me down. And, of course that never happened. So, but I gained so much respect for him for that. Like, that literally made me want him more, because I just appreciated the fact that he understood that I wasn't in the right mind space for that. And I wasn't. Like, yeah, I was feeling him, but I just wasn't in the correct mind space to take things to that level. And it's almost like he, him being a man, he had that discipline and like that protecting me that I was talking about earlier, because the discipline he had, it protected me emotionally from going there when I wasn't ready. And so that's an example of how discipline, I think, really works in the favor of being a man. When you have that, good things will happen. And obviously we didn't work out, but to this day I have the utmost respect for him for that, because for one, not many men are going to do that. Like, not many men are going to turn down being intimate with a woman that they're dating or that they find attractive. Like, it's just not going to happen. I think 9 times out of 10, a man will go ahead and take advantage of that if he can. So that was something that really stood out for me, was he was protecting me. He didn't feel like I was ready, and like I really appreciated that. Anybody else have anything to add?
I would just say to that story you just told, absolutely, you as a man, you have to think big picture. Like I said, you can't turn that off, because as soon as you do, when you start thinking small picture, you start thinking, self over everything, then you start making mistakes, and then you start making mistakes, and the world starts to judge you. And when the world starts to judge you, then the world starts treating you different. And as a man, you understand that you got to put yourself in the best position possible to make your life as fruitful as possible. And you can't put roadblocks in your way based off of your bad decisions, based off of selfishness, or based off of a nearsighted view of the world, a nearsighted view of what's happening in your life.
No, I agree with that 100%. Oh, was somebody gonna say something?
No, I was just saying, I told you what I tell my college basketball players, and what I've said in the past plenty of times. There's a couple things that destroy men, and one is not controlling your urges, whether it's substance abuse, gambling, whatever your urges are, or your vices, not being able to control that. You got to be disciplined in that aspect. You got to control your emotions. People losing NFL contracts, pro contracts, because of not controlling your emotions and things like that. So men have to control their emotions. They have to be disciplined in that matter. And then the other one is dick control. You got to control you end up out here with a rack of baby mothers. And at the end of the day, if you can't control that, that's the biggest discipline that, a lot of dudes are struggling with, or it's messing up relationships if you're not getting no one pregnant, because you can't resist that pretty girl that you either met at the club or you work with. And, it's just those things are all aspects of discipline that men have to have, because it will make, those are the downfalls of majority of men when they have downfalls. Like you got to make sure you take care of those things and have a good grasp on those things in your life as a man. So
I agree with that. How has let's shift a little bit. How has the concept of masculinity changed over time? Because we are definitely not living in the same times that our parents came up in. The mindset is not the same. The ideas of gender roles are not necessarily the same. So a lot has changed, but I just want to hear from the men specifically. How has the concept of masculinity changed over time from what it was to what you feel like it is now?
I think that I don't think it really changed much for men. I think certain things have been introduced in our current way of living where some things are more accepted, men being more emotional, men being more vulnerable emotionally, men taking time to actually put more energy into their well-being, their health, men not being so sacrificial of their minds, bodies, and their spirits, for the sake of others. I think those things are starting to change, but to the most part, I don't think the idea of masculinity has really changed that much. It's the needle's being moved some, but I don't think it's to a great degree yet. Although I feel like it should move further, though.
I feel like, see, I don't know if I agree with that, because I feel like, especially when it comes to gender roles, things have changed. As far as the expectation, even defining what a man is or what a man's role is from, back in the days when our parents grew up, our grandparents grew up, where women weren't, traditionally, they weren't working. A lot of women were housewives. And so I think now we're seeing a lot more women who are working, are earning their own money. We even have some men who are stay-at-home dads. Like the wife or the woman in the household is the breadwinner. And so, and that is, I think that society looks at that a little bit differently than what it was before, where you didn't see that at all. So I don't know that I agree with that. I think that definitely over time, this idea or the concept of masculinity has changed. Also, as we see, like transgenders or, people who are gay, like in the roles of men as far as that's concerned. And I'm not, speaking negatively on anyone, because love is love. But I think that has also, changed significantly from years prior, I guess I could say. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
I mean, there's clearly more freedom of expression. When I was in high school, we knew the handful of guys that was walking around and openly was gay. And now people don't even pay attention to that. Like, that's like, oh, that person is who he is. And it's good that it's that way. But at the end of the day, we need to also make sure that these young men growing up have some male mentorship. I mean, I think, you look at the previous generation, not to say that a single mom can't raise a man to be a strong man, but one of the reasons I felt like I always moved in a way that was pretty masculine, and I felt like I never had no gripes with that, because I did have a dad at home with me. I was one of the fortunate ones of my friends that had both parents still married, and connected and then had an older brother who was always, pouring back into me. And so from a young age, I always moved with a sense of masculinity that people would say is how it used to be, right? But at the end of the day, um, there just needs to be, I'm not even worried about the gender roles being flipped. Like, there's more successful women. Women have really, gotten their money up, government jobs, different things that they're doing, whether they do hair, they do this, they do that. So yeah, women are making more money than they used to. And what it is that a man sometimes might feel inferior to that, which they shouldn't, because I love that a woman is out there grinding, but I just don't think that, some of the lack of masculinity that you said you may see right now is necessarily based off of the gender role flips. It's just a lot of different influences. It's really hard, honestly, to pinpoint where it comes from, because you could look at how things in social media are portrayed. You could look at all types of different aspects in which, a man may feel less masculine about how they move or their appearance, and women look like they, run stuff now. Like, Sexy Red got everybody thinking that they could do that. So
Bless. We don't mention her on the show, okay? Just kidding.
I couldn't tell you one lyric. I just know she out here causing a ruckus. But at the end of the day, these types of things, it's not just one or two main things that may have moved the needle with masculinity. I think just over time with, different things occurring and, more freedom of expression with people openly being more comfortable in the LGBT community. That's something that allows people to, express themselves, and it feels like it's less masculine. But, I'm not going to knock that, like at the end of the day, I don't know how to pinpoint. So it's a hard topic to talk about because there's so many different factors that can move the needle either way. And I just don't want to even try to grasp that whole concept. But there's some slight changes, I feel, in my opinion. But, I think kids are just overall softer these days anyway, just growing up. They ain't had as many responsibilities and chores to do and things. And my parents made me work. So it was like I had to man up. I was 9 years old doing laundry and cooking. So at the end of the day, it was just a different time, so that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Great. Carlise, do you have anything to chime in regards to that?
Nope.
No.
I'm gonna let y'all have that one.
What about, while we're talking about masculinity, what impact does toxic masculinity have on society's perception of what a man is? And what I mean by toxic masculinity, it's things like emotional suppression, aggression and dominance, homophobia, those type of things. How do we think that toxic masculinity has influenced society's perception of what makes a man a man?
I'll lead. You've been lead, Jay. I got you, bro. So, well, with the toxic masculinity, one thing is men have to, not a lot of men, but I know some men have to give this persona that they're a certain way, probably because of certain homophobias they may have. Like, oh, look at me, I'm this way, that way. And some of them be hiding behind a mask for real. Some of them really are grappling with themselves about their sexuality. There's men who, a lot of men, that portray themselves to be this macho man, this and that, have some DL issues. I mean, look at P. Diddy, man. That's crazy, like to hear the stories about P. Diddy. And yet this is a man who dated J-Lo and Cassie and Kim Porter. There's fine women, and at the end of the day, now you're hearing these stories about this dude, P. Diddy. And it's like, he had this persona in the limelight, but underneath of it, there was something going on there. I think homophobia is ridiculous. Like, I think you let people do them, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of men try to overcompensate because of that type of feeling. That those that have that type of feeling in them, where they like, oh, I ain't gay, man. Yeah, and I'll never be gay. Well, you ain't got to express that. It's just your actions at the end of the day, and so you have to move how you move. But you can't overcompensate and try to make yourself look even more manly than you are. You just got to be you at the end of the day. And then there's, the emotional part, like toxic masculinity. There should never be a time where there is a woman in your presence that feels not safe. I mean, at the end of the day, if that's something that is constant, then you're a man that seriously needs to seek some help, because there should never be a woman around you that feels unsafe, that especially one that knows you, like your partner, your spouse, a coworker, or like people that have been around you. Like, someone may feel unsafe about me because they just don't know me and they see my size and I'm a big black man. But at the end of the day, once someone knows you, that should not be something that is an emotion that is felt by any type of woman around you. I think men have to really keep themselves in check. I've been saying that all show, that your emotions is a big deal, man. You got to learn how to control yourself.
But don't you think that, and this kind of ties into toxic masculinity, that men are traditionally taught to suppress emotions instead of express them, and so they grapple or struggle with being able to appropriately manage their emotions because all they've known is to suppress,
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I let mine out at the end of the day. If I don't like something, I don't feel a certain way about something, I say it, and I let it be known. And I'll talk about it in a way that's not too, we're not getting all hype, but that narrative has to change in terms of men not allowed to express themselves in an emotional way. Obviously, don't be over the top with it and don't be violent and, aggressive with it. But there's a way you can express yourself, get that out, and not have to channel everything inside of you. That's something that men just have to consistently work with, because you are looked at as being soft or this and that if you express your emotions too much as a man. And so I always try to make sure that I don't really keep things bottled in. It's a tight line, man. Men, we got a job that we got to do to manage ourselves. It's real, and try to also save face. So, I think it's something that you have to be careful that you aren't part of the toxic masculinity, and try to control yourself in a way to where you're not put in that category.
Mitch, you got something you want to add in there?
Yeah, I personally feel like toxic masculinity is a phrase that we just didn't need in this world. I think that I'm serious. Like, I feel like the definition of toxic masculinity is just a way for women to just find something bad about a guy or a group of guys or a guy. Let me finish.
Let me tell you something.
Let me cook.
Do not.
At the end of the day, the definition of toxic masculinity is just being a bad human. The actions that anyone says that defines toxic masculinity, a woman is capable of it. And I challenge someone to give me actions that fall into the realm of toxic masculinity that a woman can't do. So at the end of the day,
Go ahead.
At the end of the day, it's just a dude being a bad human. Just be a good human. That's it.
I agree with that, bro.
Carlise, you want to chime in, and then I'll
just don't come toxic around me. Come healed, okay? No toxicity. Absolutely not.
That's a fact. But do you let toxic women around you?
Huh?
I said that's a fact, but do you let toxic women around you?
I try not to.
Okay.
I mean, at the
And
end of
that's
the
the
day,
thing.
it's all a part of being around good humans. You know,
Yeah.
if you're toxic,
Bottom line.
I don't want that around me at all. And at the end of the day, I've been there and done that in a relationship before. And it's just like the growth in me is like, I'm not trying to do any of the toxicity. It's just like that feeling in your stomach that you just don't want to feel again, you know? So, you know, come healed. I'll come healed.
100%.
Toxicity is not, you know, that's just some weak, that's weak to me.
I agree. But Mitch, to what you were saying, I do agree that women can, when it comes to toxic masculinity, that women can display those same kind of, you know, behaviors. But what I think makes it the behaviors are traditionally associated with men, like the emotional suppression. You know, that's something that is not associated with women. Everyone always says that women are emotional. They have no problem expressing their emotions. They're always in their feelings. They're emotional creatures. Blah blah blah. The list goes on. That's not something that's associated. So emotional suppression is not associated with being a woman. Aggression and dominance, that's not associated with being a woman. And yeah, women can be aggressive and women can be dominant, I think, in good ways or at certain times, like maybe in the bedroom. You know, they could be aggressive and dominant there, and that would not be looked upon as a negative thing, I think, to most people. However, when it comes to that type of behavior being displayed by men, then it means something different, or society makes it seem as though it means something different, you know? And so that's where I think I kind of like don't agree with you, because of the traditional, of these things are traditionally associated with men, right?
And that, to me, that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be associated just with men. You know, you said holding in your emotions and not expressing yourself and things like that. And a man is toxic masculinity. It's called depression in women, or it's called being moody with women. It's the same things. It's just nowadays we've just decided to kind of draw a line and separate the same human actions and just give them new names for men all of a sudden. Everything you named, women are capable of doing. Being aggressive. What is that called for a woman being aggressive? Some people call it wilding out. Some people call it being butch. You know what I'm saying? Like there's names that have been there already for the same things women have been doing. It's just suddenly now we have these names for men. And for me personally, I just don't feel like it does people, period, any justice. It doesn't do us any good. It doesn't get us any further anywhere. Just focusing on giving stigmas to things that men do that women do too, which just means it's just stuff humans do. We separate men and women too much, I think, nowadays. That's my biggest thing. That's my biggest takeaway basis, what I'm saying. Yeah. We separate men and women like we're so different. Sure, there are differences physically, but realistically, most men are capable of doing the same things women are, and vice versa. Taking out the physical. Most men are capable. Once you get to society and what you're taught as a child, then there starts to be some delineation. But depending on your upbringing, the tomboy is going to do certain similar things that the dude does, and the sensitive guy is going to do certain things similar to what women do. We ain't really that much different.
I don't disagree with you there. I think that's a very valid point. But to your point, like talking about, say, the sensitive guy, the guy that's, you know, not suppressing his emotions, society will deem that guy as less of a man or weak, or associate expressing those emotions with like femininity, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you acting like a bitch. We hear that all the time. Well, what does that really mean? That means your behavior is associated with what females do, right? And so that hinders men, and that's why I think that a lot of men feel like they have to wear that mask and suppress those emotions, because if they don't, then it makes them look like less of a man. And that's something that we need to be addressing.
So, that's that's the gray area though, like, because if a guy expresses himself, he looks like a bitch. At the end of the day, then when he suppresses his emotions, now that can create some type of toxic masculinity. Is that what we're saying? Like, with him suppressing his emotions can cause a problem. So which one are we supposed to do? Like, there's a gray area where, as a man, there's a problem with men suppressing emotions, but yet when you let your emotions out, it's frowned upon. That's a whole gray area. That's an area where we are in a box of damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense from a man's perspective, because you have to find that balance, right? You have to be able to be strong and, a leader and those things of that nature, but at the same time you have to have some level of vulnerability, without and we have to, I think we as women have to create that space to let men know it's okay.
Like, it's okay. Yeah.
Right. Because what women do a lot of times, the first thing we do is we're going to attack your masculinity when we're mad or if we're in an argument. Like I think Jay mentioned one time, like, oh, that's why your dick is little, whatever. Like, but even that, like, you're acting like a bitch, like something as simple as that, like, or that's some bitch shit that you did, or whatever the case may be. We know as women, like, that will trigger men because, again, it makes them look weak, which is something that men don't, ever want to do. And then that in turn just creates the cycle of suppressing the emotions. Because now, oh, go ahead.
No, I ain't want to cut you off.
No, I was just saying it just creates a cycle, and we need to figure out how to break that.
And so you said something key. A woman has to allow you to have that space. I think this is why I've been able to cohabitate for 10 years and be married for 7 to my wife, because she never looks at me as a sucker. She has gotten me together where I had to kind of fall back and be like, okay, you got that. My bad. And then there's times where I've expressed myself and I didn't like something, and she was like, okay, that's fair. I see your point. My fault. And it wasn't like, oh, you acting soft. Why you can't handle that? Like, it wasn't like that. Communication, being able to listen and seeing the other person's perspective are huge in any relationship. Like, if you do near level, you're gonna have a long-lasting relationship, along with the integrity and the honesty, obviously. But communication, listening to each other, and seeing the other side of what's being said, not being selfish in your own perspective, like you said, a woman being able to allow you to express that without being criticized is a big deal. That's something that makes for a great partner for a guy who's standing on business and able to move like he's supposed
to. Let's talk about social media, because we know social media is the devil. It causes a lot of issues. Social media. I mean, we're all on social media, but social media does, I think, create a lot of issues when it comes to relationships. And so let's talk about what role social media plays in defining what makes a man a man. And I'll kind of start out on this one, because when you go on social media, you see a lot of things that we know are mask. Like, I'm like in my era of mask off, but social media is a place of mask, right? Like, everyone's pretending, not everyone, but a lot of people are pretending to be something that they're not. They're pretending to have these lifestyles that they don't. They're pretending to be able to move certain ways that they can't, and so on and so forth. Like, an endless amount of, like, trickery going on here. Women are applying filters and they don't really look like that. Like, the list goes on and on. But in terms of social media, for me, a lot of times you'll see, like, girls on trips. I will talk from a woman's perspective. You'll see pictures of girls on trips, girls living this certain lifestyle and like being spoiled, being flown here, bought this bag and that bag, or whatever the case may be. And so I think that creates a mindset amongst a lot of younger women, especially who are more easily influenced, that that's the expectation, that's the level. And if a man's not doing that kind of thing for me, then he is, sorry, if he's not doing that kind of thing, then he's less than a man in some way. Because and then you hear stories. I hear stories from my guy friends all the time about the ridiculous type of demands that women are making when they're even just starting to date someone. You need to take me on a trip. You need to take me shopping. And there's this expectation there. And if you can't do it, they don't want anything to do with you. And so I think that social media creates this negative type of facade that ultimately hurts people's perception of what makes a man a man. What do you guys think? No one thinks anything?
I'll jump out there first. Like you said, social media is trash. I mean, it's just one huge closet of echo chambers with a whole bunch of doors. You open one door, it's one echo chamber here. You open another door in the closet, there's another echo chamber about something else. And all people do is gravitate towards what they want to hear the most. So in regards to like men, you're gonna find some sections where you'll hear, man, the best thing since sliced bread. You go to some other sections, and it's gonna be men trash and white more off the face of the earth. And unfortunately, until people get the wherewithal and the emotional intelligence to start thinking outside of their own thoughts and just parroting and echoing the words of others that are just nothing but their words, then it's just going to be one big battlefield. And that's all it is on social media. Social media is one big gender war. There's two sides. Men are trash, women are trash. There's like there's a little Switzerland somewhere that says we should all get together and make this work. But for the most part, it's both sides is trash, and we don't want nothing to do with the other side. And that's the ultimate problem. That needs to stop. We need to start looking at the good in the other gender versus the bad, and vice versa. And once we start doing that, sure, ain't nobody perfect, but I mean, come on, man. I mean, everybody swear that the other side is trash, but don't nobody really, really, really want to be without them.
That's a good point. Carlise, what are your thoughts as far as social media?
Social media is just like social media. It's not real life, right? I think that, whoa, I had a little too much.
We love it.
No, but I think when it comes to social media, like, it is what it is, but you are going to be with a woman or vice versa at the end of the day where it makes sense. If you on social media and you're looking at this woman and her trips are getting paid for, she's doing the most with, whatever, like, that's the type of woman you step to. But at the end of the day, like, you're going to be with a woman where it makes sense. And I feel like just social media is just temptation island for real. Like, social media is wild, but it is what it is. I don't know. But vice versa, if I'm a woman, don't be coming in my DMs.
There's that.
Can't bring the same energy.
That's valid.
Yeah, it's a whole thirst trap, man.
It really is, but
now
it's always
I have yet to slide in anyone's DM in my life. I've had Instagram for like
love
15
that
years.
for you.
Like 15 years. Like, I mean, because like at the end of the day, man, look, man, if people getting jammed up, I got homies who got screenshotted and put on blast. It's like, bro, what are you doing, man? You like, it's like, come on, dog. Like, you just gotta be smarter than that. But at the end of the day, you can use social media for good, like, you know, in terms of your interests or whatever. But if you're on there looking at every big booty jiggling and, you know, every BBL that you see and every other thing got you looking this way, that way, and liking every photo, you on there, you lost. You in a sunken place in terms of social media, and you got to be careful. So that's why I really don't be on it. Like, social media is it's a sparingly used platform unless I'm doing something for my own marketing or purpose. Because it is, you gonna see the finest woman with the fattest booty on there, and you gotta control yourself. You gotta be like, nah, man, ain't even no point of entertaining that, but it's on there. So
I definitely think it's great for marketing. However, I wouldn't want any man that I'm talking to and I'm looking at, like, I'm scrolling and I'm like, why are you liking all these women's photos? You know, that's like a red flag to me, period. So
yeah, I ain't liking.
Yeah, I think, you know, digging on to like my close guy friends, likewise, and, you know, I have some other guy friends that the real men, like the guys that are like men, like they're about their business, whether they're married or not, they tend to not be on social media often. And I think, again, that goes back to that discipline, because they realize and recognize that it is a place of temptation, that they could go on there and get jammed up. And so instead of just, you know, doing it and sneaking and looking or whatever, or liking girls' pictures or whatever, they have the discipline to be like, I'm not even going to put myself in that position, because I know what it can do. And then, again, that to me is a real man. So when I meet men and they don't have social media, or they're not on social media often, that's like an instant green flag for me.
That's
like,
fine.
Yes. I'm like, yes, he does. He's not on
you said discipline from the jump, you know, like discipline, you know, even if he does have all the followers, you know, like, what you liking, you know, but if you disciplined and I can trust you, then cool. But at the end of the day, it's a red flag to me if you're liking all these women or you're following all these women and you're just like, for what?
Yeah, absolutely. So, do we think that social media actually influences how men view themselves? Like it's very obvious from the things that we see on social media and with the women and their, you know, ridiculous expectations, like the Cheesecake Factory girl, or, you know, there's just so many examples of women who are like, if a man doesn't do this, this, and this, then no, he's not, like, he's almost like less than a man. He's not on my level, or whatever the case may be. But what about the influence of social media on how men view themselves? Because I can imagine, like, if I were a man and I'm going on social media and I'm seeing, you know, these men with money, or, you know, supposed money, and they're with the baddest women, or they're, you know, appearing to live a certain lifestyle, I think that would maybe negatively influence my view of myself. Maybe it makes them feel like I'm not good enough. And I hear a lot of men say that when it comes to women, like they feel like the expectations are too high, like, and unrealistic. Like Jay says it all the time. Women want 666. And I'm like, where did you get that from? You know what I'm saying? I think it's social media. Because if you talk to because if you talk to real women like Carly's and myself, we will tell you, like, that is not what we want. You know, we've already discussed some of the things that we want, and like what a real man is: integrity, honesty, godly, you know, discipline, respectful, all of these type of things. But you'll go on social media and it appears that what women want are men who can fine dine them, men that can fly them on trips around the world, men that can buy them all of the things. And so that is the perception that is put out there. And I think that it negatively influences men from that perspective. What do you guys think? You guys are both married, so I know it really doesn't apply to you, but do you think as a man that that's possible?
I think that men are not easily swayed. We're not
real men, like grown men, right?
Yeah, grown men. We're not quick to fall for glitz and glamour. When it comes to art investments, whether it's time, energy, money, etc. That we run like a cost benefit analysis through our heads. Now, granted, there are some dudes out there that will definitely say, you know what, I got this amount of time on my hands. I'm trying to see some ass. Straight to Instagram I go. And granted, they'll do that. But most men, if they're on social media, they're looking through stuff. What they seeing ain't really moving them one way or the other. They already who they are. It don't matter how many dudes is, say, for instance, spending all types of wild money on the first date. The average dude isn't going to see a bunch of that on social media and go, I think I should start doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
You think so?
I think so. But what I also will say is younger men that aren't quite settled and sure of themselves are more susceptible to being influenced by social media.
Mhm.
I think the trends and things that happen on social media is hitting them young folk. It's hitting them and it's sinking in with them. And then it becomes cool. And then we got some adults our age that see what's cool and still want to be cool. And then they start copying that. The stuff that's on social media ain't coming from 35, 40, 45-year-old people. It's coming from 25 and under. The latest dance, the latest phrase, the latest challenge, the latest trend, it's all 25 and under.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, you start seeing it enough, and like I said, it starts catching on like wildfire. But a grown ass man, he'd be the last one to know what's cool on social media. A grown ass man with something to do, he'll be
Right.
the last one to know what's cool on social media.
100%. I agree with that.
I'm sure Coach is too busy to know what's the latest dance, Coach.
I just learned the first dance I ever learned that is a TikTok. I have never posted a TikTok in my life. First. So never. I haven't posted one. I don't even know. Didn't even realize I had an account until.
What dance you learned?
It was the $1 Million Baby jump with the tap and the this joint. You see how lost
I don't know that way. I don't know that way.
So you know the song $1 Million Baby.
I know the song.
Yeah, I know the song.
There's a dance to
I didn't know either.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know either.
I found that out like a week ago that there's a dance, and it was like, oh, okay. Like I don't.
Who taught you? Who put you on?
My wife showed me. Dance. Like that was the only reason that I even. But you know, I just was like, I'm not into that stuff. Like I'm so into basketball and like man, social media, like you said, those things where you like, I believe even me, if I was a single man, it would not be me. Oh, I gotta go and wine and dine this woman and do this because I see someone else doing it. Like I couldn't imagine being that way. Like ain't no way. We used to call that in college putting the pussy on a pedestal. Like no, yeah, no, doing too much, tricking and not even having it, and you out here trying to impress someone with some money. And at the end of the day, she even gonna like you or she not. I mean, you can't be out here a bum, but at the end of the day, you can't do too much because you gotta, once you show that, you gotta maintain that type of lifestyle and living. And I mean, that's how these dudes get taken advantage of out here. I ain't never known that. I could never imagine it. So what he said to the guys who move, who don't be on social media and into everything, we not easily influenced by that stuff. That stuff don't move us no way. And I agree with you, Jay, on that. Like, I ain't never seen something on social media that influenced me because I'm going to be who I am. And that's who I've been in my 41 years. Like, as an adult, I can't imagine being any different. And I'm old enough to remember the times before social media and how I had to move, and I had to call someone mama house in order to holler at their daughter back in high school. And people don't know how to, these young generations don't have that gift of gab. They want to send a text. So, people don't have that interpersonal skill. Like there's things that just aren't going to influence me on social media. It's just not going to happen. So
But I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off. Continue.
I'm done. I'm good.
I just think that I get it, what you guys are saying, and in your defense, you are older and you're both married. But I think that you guys are discounting that a lot more men are, in fact, influenced by what they see on social media. And maybe not so much, like you see that men are flying women out, so you try to fly a woman out. But your mindset becomes, these are the type of things that I got to do to get the type of women that I want, which by type, I mean the prettiest women, because it's like, let's just be real. That's usually what it is with men, because you guys are so visual. And so that's like the first thing that you see that makes you want to get to know a woman is her beauty, right? And then if that weren't true, then there wouldn't be all these men faking the funk on social media like they do, because they're equating, if I look like I got money, or if I do certain things, that I am going to get the baddies that I want, right?
You're absolutely right. I was speaking probably more from a personal experience and how I move with, and how I don't get influenced by that.
Yeah.
But I am very sure that there's almost maybe more that get influenced than that don't. I know that's something that, it's happening, and I'm not naive to that. I agree that there's men that's changing their lifestyle based on what they see on social media, because they feel like that's the need of that type of woman that they're targeting. So, yeah.
And what's even scarier, and you and I work in schools, we work with teenagers. I remember one time I went into the student bathroom because it was the nearest one. And I'm in this stall, and there are like these teenage girls, and it was on the middle school side. So these are middle school girls. And they're like having this conversation about some boy. And the little girl is talking about how, like, girl, he don't got no bag. Like, what can I do with him? He don't got no money.
Middle schoolers?
Yes, middle school, like middle schoolers. And like in my mind, I was just like, oh, this is so bad. Because damn, the 25-year-olds, at least they're adults, like they, are old enough to kind of like make their own decisions, even though, they are still being heavily influenced by social media. It's like the 15-year-olds that I am more concerned about, or the 14-year-olds and the middle schoolers who think that is what it's supposed to be. And these unrealistic standards are being set at a very young age. And so as they grow older, if they don't get around people that got some sense, which if they were around some people that had some sense, they wouldn't be thinking like that anyway. So it's obvious they're not around nobody that's got some sense. But if they don't get around some people who have some sense, they will continue to have that mindset. And then that's going to further create division amongst our culture, which is the opposite of what we want, which is the opposite of what we stand for here on the show. Like, we're trying to bring people together, but how do we course correct that when the reach is social media's reach is so vast, and it's it's getting to the young people. Like,
see, that's the problem. The reach of social media is there, whereas the people you said that they should be around, they not on social media, not to the extent and not to the amount of time that these young kids are, or these young adults are. I'm just gonna go back and say it again, like, and let me concede to you. Yes, apparently there is a section of men in this society that's falling into whatever's happening on social media and running with it. I gotta admit it, because like you said, if it wasn't the case, we wouldn't see it. We see it, so it's a lot of nasty work out there. Prayer hands to their group chats. That's all I got to say. But social media is just so prevalent. It's on your phone. It's right there with you. Social media is never away from you. Never. The only time social media is away from you is if your phone is off. And then you can just turn it on and go right there. One click, it's there. And it's built to keep you on it. And it's built to know what you into. So it's going to show you what you into. What do you think? It's going to keep showing you what you think, what you agree with. It's going to show you what you agree with. It knows, for a man, say, It knows what type of baddie you like. Height, weight, complexion, it knows based on what you double tapped. And it's going to keep sending it to you. You want to know what a person is into on social media, or at least on Instagram, go to the Explore page. It's going to snitch on them like they was on trial. Go to the Explore page. You're going to see what they do with their time on social media. You're going to see what moves them. You're going to see what they into. You're going to see what they like. You're going to see what they're looking for. That Explore page will tell the whole story. And that Explore page will break down and divide this type of person to this type of person. And all the social media does is take stuff like that, and it just keeps recycling and just feeding it to you. So you become addicted. Most people, well, I'll say most people, but there's a lot of people addicted to social media don't even know it.
I agree with that 100%. What about, let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about role models and upbringing, because I know we kind of touched on that, just talking about how the youth are so heavily influenced by social media, and it makes it more difficult if they don't have, good people around them. But let's talk about the role models in a man's life and how that influences their perception of what makes a man a man. Because we know a lot of, like, for example, in our school, there are a lot of children whose dads are not around for whatever reason. And so I'd imagine that is going to impact how they view what makes a man, because I don't know if it's the neighborhood guy on the corner. I don't know if it's what they're seeing on social media. But if they don't have that male presence in the home, or if that male presence is not a good one, then that's going to impact or shape their ideas. So I would say, like, I put the question out there: who were your role models growing up, and how did that shape your idea of what makes a man a man?
I mean, just, my role models, my dad was awesome. He still is. I was blessed to have that. I can never say that enough, because I was one of my few only friends that did have a dad in the house. It was not that they didn't know their dad, but even to have a dad in the house was, and that was so supportive and showed me sports and, pushed me to do different things. And then, he really was the first mentor and the leader of who I was going to become. And then, my brother is 7 years older than me, but he took to me so much. Even, 22 years old, he's taking me up to Bowie State to get my butt kicked. So I'm playing against college players as a 14, 15-year-old. So yeah, I ended up winning the state championship in high school in Maryland because I was used to playing against college players. So a high school kid wasn't nothing to me by the time I was a junior or a senior in high school. It's things like that that also taught me how to man up and learn how to deal with failure and get back up and keep persevering. Because I was the weakest player in Bowie State's gym at one point, being 15 years old and getting my butt kicked up and down the court and being too small in terms of strength. And then those things taught me how to work harder, and get to.
Oh no, I think we lost him.
We ain't losing, did we? Yeah.
I think so. Hopefully he'll come back. Do you want to kind of pick up on that question?
I was blessed enough with having a mother who, even though my father wasn't in the household throughout my entire life, she made sure that for the first 10 years of my life, I was always around positive male role models, from neighbors, married neighbors, her friends, married couples. coaches from sports, little league, things like that. She always made sure I was around these environments where there were men that showed some type of integrity, some type of discipline, respect, self-respect, honor. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these men had the things. And when I eventually met my father when I was 10, he was the type of man that would show the same things. And once I met him, he made sure that he was in my life and stayed in my life to this day. Those influences were all designed to counteract whatever I was going to see when I wasn't in my mother's presence around these other men, and when I was out in the world, because she knew that the world was going to show me something completely different. And growing up in Queens, I saw completely different. Going to school, just being out in the streets, completely different. But she made sure that when I was around her, she would bring me around and show me a different way, show me a different perspective, had me up in church, showed me a different side of what my life could be when I became a man. And I, respect and appreciate and love her for that, because that right there changed the trajectory of my life to where I chose left and not right, because right was right outside my door my whole entire life until I got grown and left my mother's house. Right was always there, but I chose to go left because I had a perception of what left was. It was shown to me. And what I saw was, there's some good in this. Let me head over there and rock like that. So I definitely appreciate, all the male role models I had in my life and what they instilled in me purposely and just, incidentally, things I just picked up.
How can we course correct with the young people who don't have positive male role models in their life teaching them what it is to be a man?
You gotta find some sources of that and put that in their lives somehow, some way. Whether it be school, school trips to, I don't know, like it could be like a school trip to like a basketball game and you meet the players, or you know what I'm saying, after the game, or it could be, it could just be, if they're community groups like churches or something like that, just making sure that there are events that happen to where men can mentor children, mentor these boys directly and indirectly. Like I said, just put these young boys in a position so where they can see a positive male role model. I mean, they all over. It could be things like, going to, I don't know, like elementary school, going on a field trip to the fire station. Weird story. My mother once took me to a fire station up the block from the crib. It was like 4 blocks away. I was like 5 or 6 or whatever. She took me up there. Was like, "You want to get on the fire engine?" Them dudes was like, "Hey, you want to do this and do that?" I was like, "This is the coolest thing ever. These guys are great." At 6, I'm blowing a horn. You know what I'm saying? I'm on the fire engine. I had the best time ever. I don't know what possessed my mother to do this, but and she said from that day, every time I seen a fire truck, I would go crazy. You know what I'm saying? But it just made me look at firemen. They're cool. You know what I mean? These guys are doing a good job. They're doing a good work for the community. Just small things like that. But whoever's got the responsibility of raising and directing these young men, they are the ones that need to just, as much as possible, put them in a position to be around some positive men, just point blank, period, by any means necessary.
All right. Wise, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, my daily life is being a leader of men, from being a junior college coach to being a high school math teacher. I've been in the city. I've been a DC high school teacher for 13 years. I share my knowledge and my experiences of being a Division I athlete, being a guy who played in South America, Europe, and Canada for 9 years. Had an overseas, tour of basketball and things that people don't get to experience, and these kids don't recognize that you can, getting them to recognize you can be a very good athlete and you can be a student. Those things are not separate. Um, I've always took pride in not being the dumb jock. So when people say, "Oh, all you jocks, all you athletes get breaks," well, no, ma'am. 3.5, almost 1,200 on the SAT. Leave me alone. And then at the end of the day, after I finished my basketball overseas, went back and got a master's. You know what I'm saying? So I have a master's degree, first one in my family to do that. Don't play with me about not being smart and being athletic and being black, all while that's going on. I tried to pour back into the community as much as possible, get these kids on the right track, and tell them like being smart is cool. It's good to be a great student athlete. That's what it is about. And I'm at a JUCO level where they struggled through high school, most of them kids, and I have to mend those habits that they have of being a bad student that they've had for sometimes all their life, all 12 years of school. So that's always been a constant thing that I've been able to put myself in front of ever since I've really gotten to the school system in 2013, is that, yeah, you got a mentor and give back and pour back into the community. And when you see a lost child, you try to help them and guide them. And you can't correct it because, you only can do what you can do because they do go home to their environment when they leave school. But at the end of the day, every time you're around them, you correct the bullshit.
Yeah.
And you see me in there. I don't let them kids get away with nothing.
No,
and they still love me. And they still love me. And that's just what it's about. You know what I'm saying? You got to really be on point because they are the future that you don't want to have to deal. You want to try to correct as much as you can if you're in that position. And that's
absolutely.
all, So.
Absolutely. Well, we are winding down with time, so we're going to start to wrap it up with closing remarks. We're going to start with the lovely Carlise. Do you have any last minute thoughts or just want to share your opinion on what makes a man, give some advice to the men that are tuned in who may be watching later? Like, these are the things that women really appreciate and associate with what being a man is all about.
First of all, shout out to y'all. Y'all really set the, expectation for how men should be, but no, just discipline, just being respectful, honest, and, all the above. But I think, like you said earlier, just like discipline, because even when it comes like social media or, work, if you go out, you're always around temptation and, it always runs back to discipline and, just being that good person and respectful. And yeah, shout out to y'all though. Y'all really set it high.
Yeah, there's some good
I enjoyed listening to y'all for real. So
absolutely. Wise, any last minute thoughts?
Yeah, just try to move in a way that where you are always putting yourself in the best light and like you said, integrity, discipline, respect, all the things that are qualities that men need to continue to have to make everyone around them whoever's around them a situation. You want to have people comfortable and feel good around you. And I definitely, appreciate you having me on the show and being able to share some of what has made me. And there's been some growing up. I ain't always been on my P's and Q's, but as you get older, if you know better, you do better. And as you get older and you really start seeing some of the mistakes you make, you either can learn from them or you keep doing the same dumbass mistakes. So you just gotta grow up. There's a maturity factor. So I appreciate you recognizing that and how highly you think of me, and I appreciate you even taking the time to have me on the show. So thank you.
Absolutely. J. Mitch?
I would say, in terms of just being a man, move with positive intentions, move with positive purpose. The rest all just fall into place. And also, this month is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. It started January 1st and ends December 31st. So just keep that in mind. Check on your brothers, check on your friends, just make sure they're good. Ladies, check on your men, et cetera, et cetera. And, there's resources out there. People, feel like they know a brother that needs some help or is going through, or, fellas, if you feel like you're going through, there's resources out there. Just get on that social media and Google, and it'll put you in the right direction.
I love that. Well, just to close it out, I first want to say thank you guys for joining. We were so blessed and lucky to have you guys. You guys are fantastic. Come back anytime. Just final announcements. Oh, Jay sends his love, you guys. He had something that he could not get out of, unfortunately. Just want to say we appreciate Tit for Tat Nation, you guys, for tuning in. This is our 50th episode, so that's exciting. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep pushing. As you guys know, the goal is to bring people together. As far as what makes a man, everything that these guys said, just do the right thing. Like, it's really not difficult. Just do the right thing. Be a good person. Do the right thing. And I think that will put you in the right direction. But like Jay said, I love that. Be intentional with your purpose and be intentional with, what's the other one? I forgot that quick.
I said be positive with your intentions and be positive with your purpose.
Oh, I chopped that all up. Be positive with your intentions and be positive with your purpose. I think that's good. And not just for men, for women. Again, this show is all about bringing the culture together, moving us forward, loving on one another. Shout out to the men. This is Men Mental Health Month. So like Jay said,
every day.
Yeah, every day,
January
right?
1st to December 31st.
Yes, and therapy. That is something that is extremely important. It's becoming more and more just more and more in the public eye. It's becoming more and more acceptable by society as far as not being shunned upon or something that you feel like you need to hide. We are fans of therapy on this show. We preach it all the time. So I think that's very important. And then the last announcement before we close out is that I'm going on vacation and Jay's going on vacation. So we are going to be taking a couple weeks off, okay? Because Friday is my last day of work as a teacher, me and Wise. And so we're going to have some time off, and our next show when we return will be Tuesday, July the 2nd. So we'll be out for the next 2 weeks on vacation and kind of like sewing some things up and getting back reorganized so that we can put the best content out here so that we can move everyone forward. So we love you guys. We appreciate you, and good night.
All right, good night.